been a while coming, but finally here's a hotter version of a car we're very fond of. Meet the Peugeot 308 GT. On paper, the changes here look set to bring the 308 to 2014's European Car of the Year up to warm hatch or indeed SW Estate status. By that we mean it won't be a hard-edged performance car of Renault Sport Megane or Astra VXR ilk, but rather something slightly softer like the PSA GT or Seat Leon in FR trim. Hot or not? And upon driving it, we're able to confirm that hot it most certainly isn't. There are some very appealing aspects such as the looks, level of standard kit and how comfortable it is, along with some less impressive attributes. We found the handling left us wanting, and the diesel version doesn't seem to make much sense at all. That said, as a statement of intention, there's every indication we're dealing with a lot of potential here. It's a car that feels like a decent chassis setup and powerful engine away from being a truly great hot hatch, so here's hoping the rumoured 308 are tweaked by the Peugeot Sport Race team behind the excellent RCZR appears soon and confirms our suspicions. Looking the part, Peugeot has tweaked the aesthetics of the 308 to reflect its sportier demeanour, and for that reason it gets a drop in ride height 7mm at the front and 10mm at the rear, along with a set of 18-inch alloy wheels. The suspension is also stiffer and a set of high-performance tyres and bigger brakes are fitted to get the most from the car's chassis improvements. The bespoke body styling doesn't stop there, with a redesigned front grille flanked by a pair of top-spec LED headlights and some clever new indicators which move from the inside to the outside of the car. At the rear you get a pair of exhaust pipes, though don't be fooled, they're not functional. The real exhausts are small and point downwards under the car, and a glossed black lower rear bumper, while a special paint called magnetic blue is exclusively on offer for GT and GT line customers. Red stitching and aluminium detailing reminds the occupant they're driving something more special than a conventional 308, and the iCockpit seen in all 308s gets special programming to reflect the car's sporty nature. The final piece of the puzzle is a perforated leather steering wheel with GT badging. Driver Sport Pack. Each 308 GT is fitted with the Driver Sport Pack, which includes a range of features to further accentuate the car's sporty pretensions. For example, the engine noise is amplified in the cabin by the speakers, more on that later, and the instrument display is illuminated in red. Parameters such as power, torque and accelerative figures are displayed on the instrument panel, while engine and steering performance has been sharpened for sportier driving. This pack can be disabled too, for times when a more comfortable setup is more suitable. Pair of engines and gearboxes. There's a choice of 2 engines for the GT. Our pick is the 1.6-litre petrol attached to a 6-speed manual gearbox. Dubbed GT205, it boasts 0.62 mph sprint in 7.5 seconds while emitting 130 gkm of CO2 and returning a claimed 50.4 miles per gallon. This engine isn't available in the SW Estate version or with an automatic gearbox, though. A diesel model is available too, called the GT 180. As the name suggests, this one gets closer to 180 bhp but also gets 400 Nm of torque, so accelerates fairly quickly. It's coupled exclusively to Peugeot's new EAT 6-speed automatic gearbox. While it's a fair bit more efficient than the petrol, we'd avoid this one. To find out why, check the performance and handling sections of this review. There's some extremely strong competition for this car, so it's got quite a battle on its hands. To find out what's in its arsenal, read on for the comprehensive Peugeot 308 GT review. Performance. You've got a choice of 2 distinct drivetrains here, one focused on driving enjoyment and the other aiming at lower running costs. Either way, Peugeot 308 GT performance doesn't match the hardest of hardcore hot hatches. It's not meant to. Instead, it's more versatile, offering the sort of low running costs many car buyers expect, but with a modicum of performance built in too. Petrol power expected to make up the majority of sales. The petrol engine is a 1.6-litre turbocharged unit which develops 202 bhp and torque of 285 Nm delivered between 1,750 and 4,500 revolutions per minute. That's enough for a sprint from 0-62 miles per hour in 7.5 seconds and a top speed of 146 miles per hour flat out, though you can only have this combination in the hatchback, not the estate. We found driving the THP petrol a pleasurable experience. It feels as fast as its performance figures suggest, responding quickly thanks to advanced turbocharging technology. It's a smooth unit to drive too, and when driving normally it's quiet enough to feel a quality product. Its engine is coupled with a 6-speed manual gearbox which is well geared for good fuel economy but has a relatively long throw, which means it doesn't feel particularly sporty. Thanks to the sport button it can sound it, though. Hold your finger on it for a short time and the engine note improves dramatically as well as the dash details turning red. The only drawback here is that, while a 4-cylinder burble is pleasing on the ear, it sounds like it's coming from somewhere other than the engine. In our right-hand drive test car on the international launch it sounded more like it was coming from the passenger side door speaker or even outside the car, which serves to remind you that actually what you're hearing is a cocktail of real engine noise bolstered by synthesized improvement. It's partly fake, in other words. From a performance perspective the sport button also sharpens throttle response, but we did notice more than a fractional improvement and we're quite glad about that. Too much, and it's difficult to drive at anything other than high speed. But any drawback here is tempered with CO2 emissions of 130 gkm and fuel economy of claimed 50.4 miles per gallon. We think you'll agree this makes for impressive reading for a supposed performance model. Let's see the thirsty Focus ST match that. Diesel engine for the lowest possible running costs. You'll want the 2-litre diesel. This is only available with the firm's 6-speed automatic gearbox, but can be ordered in either estate or hatchback body styles. Boasting slightly less power of 178 bhp but a whopping 400 Nm of torque at 2000 revolutions per minute, you can expect a hatchback to cover 0-62 miles per hour in 8.4 seconds and 8.6 seconds for the estate. Top speeds are 136 miles per hour and 135 miles per hour respectively. Frankly, we'd avoid this engine and gearbox combination altogether if you're looking for a performance drive. While its healthy torque figure means it feels relatively brisk in a straight line, the automatic can't find the right gear to power out of the corner. You get a lot of the engine's torque at once, which proves too much for the car to handle and it seems to jerk forward under acceleration. The paddle shifters are largely irrelevant too. The left-hand one especially was grounding behind the steering wheel with the stalks for indicators and cruise control, which meant it was very easy to miss the paddle and hence the gear change. We marginally preferred using the gear lever in sequential mode, but leaving it in automatic is just as effective. When in sport mode there's an extra advantage with the automatic. The shift times drop from 0.31 seconds to 0.16. Can you feel the difference? Not really, but it's a good pub fact. And one final note, the synthesized engine noise in the diesel doesn't sound as realistic as the petrol. It actually sounds more like an old-school American muscle car. Handling. The 308 GT features suspension that has been lowered 7 mm at the front and 10 mm at the rear in an effort to make it a sportier drive than the regular 308. It's also between 10 and 20% stiff for both front and rear, and the car sits on high-performance Michelin Pilot Sport 3 tires. Its brakes have been Fettel too, The front discs are 330 mm in diameter and the rear's 268 mm on the hatch or 290 mm on the SW, so there's more than enough stopping power on offer regardless of body style. Great at low speeds, so that's the news, but how does it translate on the road? During normal driving it's good, turning in accurately and being easy to maneuver thanks to a relatively small turning circle. The tiny steering wheel helps here too. It makes the steering feel quicker than rivals and it feels more fun too. For the most engaging handling you'll have to pick the petrol. There are a few reasons for this, but the primary one is that it's much lighter over the front end of the car, and not by a small amount. The diesel weighs the equivalent of a Neanderthal average human male's more thanks to the far heavier automatic gearbox. Basically, it's like having Rod and Emu sitting on the bonnet. It means the diesel will tend to dive forwards into corners, while the petrol takes in more in its stride. You can feel the grip levels at the front more in the petrol car, despite its slightly lighter steering. It's more agile as well, able to change direction with more fluidity. But accurate steering, the car's front end doesn't feel particularly communicative, which means you lack the confidence to drive this car like a sporty hatch should be driven. Its steering relays a mere whiff of what's happening under the tires, and hitting the sport button does nothing to improve this. It just adds weight, meaning more force is required to turn the tiny steering wheel, and thus accuracy is slightly improved. Rivals handle better, but isn't the final word in great handling, though. Drive at more than 7/10 and you'll find a car that can tend to act a little unpredictably at the limits of grip. The rear end can become loose in faster cornering, so you'll have to be alert. The reason this happens is down to the suppleness in the chassis, so given that it'll be more comfortable than rivals on UK roads, it's a sacrifice we can understand. That said, while the firm's engineers claim to have stiffened up both front and rear suspension, far more work is required to get this car towards the sort of handling ability the Octavia VRS, Ford Focus Street, Seat Leon FR or even non-GTI VW Golf can manage. Park has pics. In terms of handling, we can't see why you'd buy the diesel version of this car. The far heavier front end means it washes wide far too easily. The extra weight over all four wheels means it's less agile, and the gearbox's tendency to select a gear which delivers too much torque too soon on a corner's exit means it's frustrating to try to go quickly in this car. With that in mind, we'd advise anyone considering it to look at a regular 308 in the new GT line trim. You get the looks and the kit, but it's at least £1,000 cheaper and you can choose an engine with better running costs too. Equipment. Sitting right at the top of the 308 lineup, GT is a trim level in itself. Standard Peugeot 308 GT equipment. The first thing you'll notice is the set of 18-inch alloy wheels. These are shod in Michelin Pilot Sport 3 high-performance tires to make the most of the car's performance. Twin exhausts at the rear of the car again project the 308's sporting intentions, while GT badging is smattered around the tweaked, sporty body kit to enhance this car's visual appeal. Inside you're treated to red stitching on the upholstery, door panels, dash, gear shift gaiter and floor mats. This contrasts with the stainless steel sill finishing plates. You also get Peugeot's iCockpit system as seen in all 308 models. To remind you, this is the sporty 308. The checkered flag logo now sits on the instrument panel and you're greeted by a bespoke GT welcome message when you turn the car on. The multimedia system's color scheme has been given a red makeover too. Each 308 GT also includes the Driver Sport Pack as standard. This nets you an amplified engine note for a sportier oral experience along with an instrument display to show power, torque, turbocharger boost and acceleration in both forward and backward and side-to-side movements. It also puts extra weight into the steering and sharpens up throttle response, and in automatic cars will speed up gear changes too. A press of the sport button behind the gear lever will switch this pack off, though. Other standard features include the lowered sports suspension by 7mm front and 10mm rear, a bespoke leather steering wheel, indicators which move in the direction you're intending to turn, keyless entry and the driver assistance pack, a great little selection of toys including adaptive cruise control, a collision alert system and emergency collision braking system, which aims to prevent further accidents by holding the brakes on after a collision. Optional Peugeot 308 equipment. There's a raft of customization options on offer too, including a bespoke blue paint scheme called Magnetic Blue, which is only available on the GT. It doesn't cost more than any other metallic paint, though. Pearlescent paint is on offer as well, and so is a full-sized spare wheel, a CD player, a panoramic glass sunroof, heated leather sports seats with or without massage function and an automatic parking system. There's the Peugeot assistance system as well, which calls emergency services automatically in the event of a crash. Comfort. It's something French car manufacturers are well known for, so we're pleased to report that Peugeot 308 GT comfort levels are very high, just like the regular model. The ride quality is particularly impressive. It's obvious there's a suppleness left in the design of the suspension, and we're sure it'll fare well in the UK for this reason alone. We tried the optional full leather sports seats and found those supportive without being claustrophobic. Wind and road noise aren't problems either, the latter probably helped by the high-quality Michelin tires on this model. Engine noise depends on which mode you're in. Pressing sport makes it louder but in a fun way, while leaving it in normal means it's actually nice and quiet. It's good at munching motorway miles. Practicality. Once again, Peugeot 308 GT Practicality is exactly the same as the regular 308. For the hatchback that means a boot of 501 litres, and the rear seats can be folded down in a 60 hours 40 minutes split. Folding both unlocks the car's maximum 1,300 litres. You've got a central console that features a single folding cup holder and a refrigerated glove box along with a pair of ISOFIX points in the rear to fit 2 child seats. The SW Estate version has the same 660-litre boot space, expanding to 1,550 litres with the rear seats folded. This is one seriously practical car, no matter which body style you go for. Safety. With a 5-star Euro NCAP crash test rating, there's not a huge amount to worry about with Peugeot 308 GT safety. You've got a host of standard kit to keep you, occupants and pedestrians safe. There are 6 airbags, tire pressure sensors, electronic stability and traction control, an alarm and an immobilizer. Peugeot has also thrown in the driver assistance package on the GT, which nets you adaptive cruise control along with a visual and audible collision alert system and a post-collision braking system to prevent further collisions in the event of an accident. Blind spot monitoring joins front and rear parking sensors and a rear parking camera, while an electronic parking brake also features hill assist, preventing you from rolling back when making a hill start. There's an automatic parking system too, which will steer the car into a parallel or bay space. What it does lack is the very latest in active safety systems seen on some rivals, such as active lane departure or low-speed automatic braking. Reliability. We've not seen much to concern us regarding Peugeot 308 GT reliability. The firm states it has tested all components extensively, and we didn't notice any rattles or other noises to worry us. With that said, there have been a couple of recalls for the 308 over its life cycle, but nothing so dramatic as to put you off. Just make sure if you're buying a used one it's been sorted, and if your car is recalled, get the work done as soon as you can.